and my associate Keegan will be telling you all about the differences between music in South Africa and America. I'll be giving you the lowdown on American music.
And I myself am going to be the expert on South African music.
The majority of you probably think that American music sounds a little bit like this.
Dirty pop. Yo. Sick and tired of hearing all these people talk about what's the deal with this pop life and when is it gonna fade?
False! The average American rock band sounds a lot different. In fact, it sounds a little like this. And the average American rap band artist might sound a little like Good Life by Kanye.
Like we always do at this time, I go for mine, I got to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine.
Most people think South African music sounds like this. Although some of that music does exist in South Africa, with tribes such as the Zulu and the Bantu, most of South African music is just as advanced as anywhere in the world, such as they developed their own style of music called Kwaito. Here's a popular artist from the Kwaito genre named Zola. Catchy, isn't it?
The history of American music is very complex. From about the time when the Europeans colonized America up until about 1900, it was all a big remake of European music. But in a period called ragtime, when music was all upbeat and joyful and American, music really started to blow off the hook. Okay, the next genre emerging from ragtime would definitely be the blues and gospel period. Blues was all about soul and, what you felt and really expressing yourself. Okay, then out of that, I think you know what's next. It's the big old saxophone style. It's called jazz. I think you know what I'm talking about here. Real upbeat, free-flying, kind of like that. And then, out of the blue, a trumpet, Elvis Presley picks up the guitar, starts singing, and shakes his hips. This started a new genre called rockabilly, or you might know it as rock and roll. And then, that really carried America through some dark times. Although Elvis Presley was not the most favorite to the parents, teens and children of America were absolutely in love with him. They wished they could shake their hips like that. The 60s was all about the European invasion when bands like the Beatles and Motorhead came over from Europe to show us the style of their music. After that, during the 70s, rock kind of carried on with bands like AC/DC and Aerosmith. However, another genre evolved called disco, and I think you all know what that is, roller skating, swinging your hips, and getting groovy. Alright, in the 80s, the punk scene emerged with bands like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, and other bands like that, which all carried up to the 90s. The 90s was a very widespread variety, including bands, or genres such as, rap. It brought out techno, it brought out hip-hop, it brought out grunge. Bands like Nirvana, Eminem started his career in that Sandstorm song in Dance Dance Revolution, which we all know. And then, which leads us up to today, which is, I think that the millennium has brought kind of a combination of all the American music and all the stages that we've been through. We rap and hip-hop and rock and roll are definitely our biggest genres, but we still keep things like classic rock involved, with bands that you'll hear on radio stations like 93X. Classic rock from the 60s and 70s is still played on the radio commonly. And yeah, so I think you're all caught up on history of American music.
Now I'm here to tell you about the history of music in South Africa. Before 1900, really the only music there was tribal music from the Zulus or the Bantus, or music that came with the white settlers from Europe. Now, at 1912, which is when South Africa first started commercially producing music, a style called Marabi developed, and that was kind of a gospel choir type music, a little bit of kind of a churchy sound. And after that, in about the 1930s, there was a cappella, which of course is music without any instruments. It's solely voices. That was the first music from South Africa that gained widespread success. I think it was the first music that an artist from that music sold over 100,000 copies of their record. And that continued between the 30s and the 50s. At the 50s was when jazz caught on in South Africa. Now, I know jazz started in America, but it also had a craze in South Africa, as well as they twisted it and called their own music the penny whistle jive. In the 60s, it was a divided time. The blacks and the whites' music started diversifying, and the whites took kind of a more rock European style, while the blacks stuck to their roots and based their music off drum beats. In the 70s and 80s, South Africa was doing the same thing that everyone else was doing, punk or disco, and yeah, that led up to the time that we are in now, which is the phenomenon of Kwaito. Now, Kwaito is ridiculously popular in South Africa. It's just a South African music, and we'll get into that later. So that sums up the history of South Africa in music. Hi, I will be telling you about the music Kwaito. Kwaito emerged in Johannesburg, South Africa in the early 1990s. It's based on beats and typically has a slower tempo, and it is also containing melodic and percussive African bass lines. Generally male vocals, shouted or chanted rather than like sung or rapped. As I said before, the music Kwaito is an apolitical music, and Rastafarian teacher Licham Sufani Samaj once said, "Whether you deal with politics or not, politics will deal with you." And I think that Kwaito helps the common people of South Africa, helps them to know what's going on in the political world of their nation, and just to inform them.
So this is Kanye once again, the face of rap. A little bit about rap. You can basically put any emotion that you want into rap. It can be happy, sad, angry. It can basically be anything. The difference between rap and kind of our usual rock is it's less of a vocal talent. More, it's if you listen to it, it's more talking than singing, and it's very mentally challenging. A little bit about Kanye West's political views. He's very against George Bush. He really doesn't like him at all because of everything that George Bush has put this country through. He speaks out against homophobia. He kind of compares the America's gay rights movement to the African American civil rights movement because of all the discrimination between the people and the struggle that they go through every day, kind of the put downs and.
Well, that about wraps it up for our project.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.
Yeah. Remember, I'm the expert on South Africa.
And I'm the expert on America. You can reach us at 1-800-ASK-KEEGAN. That's too many numbers. Ask Keegan.
We'll see you later.